It happens in seconds, right? We're in a trade. For example, right near this open, or this is the open. We go short, then it goes long, and then you see the market kind of consolidating as it's kind of struggling. But anyway, so sometimes the market will just do the exact opposite of what our confirmations and what we're seeing, and it can cause our chest to tighten, our palms to sweat. And my favorite one is when the mind goes blank before I even realize what I'm doing, and then I start revenging, hopium, a host of other things that cause problems to my account. So when we experience this type of hijacking, this is what's called, the Amygdala Hijack, and it is the number one reason why traders blow up accounts. In this video, we're going to do a deep kind of look into the neurobiology of why this happens, and I'm going to give you a very specific, scientifically validated technique backed by research from Stanford and UCLA that stops this panic response almost instantaneously. So basically, welcome back to the Neuro-Trader. This is episode 2. First episode, we established the conflict, your rational prefrontal cortex versus the emotional limbic system, so specifically the amygdala. And today we're looking at what happens when the amygdala takes over, and we'll define the core problem with this in a framework that I like to call PAR, problem, action, result. The problem is that our brain is wired to react faster to threats than it is to think rationally. And neuroscientist Joseph Ludo mapped this out. He noted in his research that when the sensory information, like seeing a big red candle, enters our brain, two pathways form simultaneously. And the first pathway is the high road, and this information goes to your prefrontal cortex for analysis. And it's like, okay, here's drawdown on this trade, but it's within my risk parameters, and you're not, freaking out per se. And then there's the low road, and this is the evolutionary shortcut. The information goes directly to the amygdala, bypassing the PFC entirely. And this amygdala doesn't analyze risk, it just screams danger. So the action here is our brain takes prioritizing the low road because it's that survival mechanism that we all react to if we not, train ourselves. And so the result, obviously, as we all know, that when we react emotionally before our rational brain has even had time to process information, then we're already hijacked. Basically we're in a mess until the PFC comes back online. You know what? We're scrambling and making poor decisions that are not helping grow our account. So once the low road is activated, it's not just an electrical signal, it's a chemical takeover. And the amygdala activates something called the HPA axis, and this is your body's central stress response system, and it floods our system with adrenaline and cortisol. The adrenaline is why our heart races as we're preparing to run, fight or flight, right? But the cortisol is the real danger because cortisol actively degrades your cognitive function, and research shows that acute stress impairs working memory and drastically reduces your ability to calculate risk and reward. And the result in this part is that your brain needs to use the PFC. And if it's taken offline, this is why often traders say, hey, I don't know what I was thinking. Well, we know what happened. Chemically, you were not thinking. So how do we fight this? Most traders, if you look out there, will tell you, well, stay calm, think rationally. And this is a top-down approach using your PFC override to that emotion. But as we've learned, the PFC is compromised trying to use the top-down approach during a hijack. And that's really useless, right? We're already compromised. So we need to use a bottom-up approach. We need to use the body to tell us when the brain, or to tell the brain the threat is over. And before we deploy the brake pedal, we need to know when to hit it. And this requires developing something called interoception. And this is the ability to sense the internal state of your body. And this relates to the concept of somatic markers, popularized by the neuroscientist Antonio Damasio. These are the physical sensations that happen before you consciously register of emotion of fear. And it's the tension of our shoulders, the shallow of our breathing, the tightness of the chest, as I talked before. And your body knows you're panicking before your mind does. So the action we must take here when you identify those specific markers, and that's what you really need to track as you're trading, and this is your early warning system. The moment you detect that cue, you have a small window of time to intervene. So when you feel that tension, you feel the shallow breathing, a hijack is starting. And here's the most powerful tool I can give you. And you probably have heard of it, but it's a good reminder. It's called the Physiological Sigh. And this isn't meditation. It's real-time intervention studied extensively by researchers like Dr. Jack Feldman at UCLA and Dr. Andrew Huberman at Stanford. And so here's what you're going to do. You're going to take a quick full inhale through the nose, then immediately take a second shorter inhale through the nose, and this is crucial. Then a long, slow exhale through the mouth until your lungs are empty. And you're probably thinking, well, why does this work so well? Well, it comes down to lung physiology and carbon dioxide. When you get stressed, your breathing becomes shallow. The tiny air sacs in your lungs, the alveoli, start to collapse, and this causes CO2 in your bloodstream, which drastically increases anxiety and agitation. The double inhale is the key because it forces the collapsed alveoli to pop back open, maximizing the surface area in your lungs. And the long exhale allows you to offload maximum amount of CO2. And the result in this breathing technique is instantaneous calming. By rapidly reducing CO2, you immediately activate the parasympathetic system. I almost got it right. And you're manually taking control of your physiology and bringing the prefrontal cortex back online. So the biggest thing you can take away from this is to integrate this into your trading protocol. So number one, when you're going to monitor, you're going to identify your top 3 somatic markers, your physical stress cues, write them down in your cognitive journal. And the moment you detect a cue during your trading or sim trading, whatever, when you're practicing this, immediately perform 1 to 3 physiological sighs and do not wait until you're in full panic. Practice the sigh now while you're calm, so it's automatic when you're stressed. The Amygdala Hijack is a powerful biological event, but you now have a powerful biological countermeasure. You don't have to be a victim of your own brain chemistry. In the next video, we're going to move from defense to offense. We're going to look at how to actively strengthen the prefrontal cortex and the PFC workout on how to stop the cycle of overtrading and really kick that dopamine addiction down as much as possible. I hope you found this useful, and I look forward to your comments